Just seeing if we've got an echo still now. No,
Test,
I put my
test,
noise
test.
cancellation on high, so it's all right.
Test.
Yeah, it's all good. It was just when I was speaking, I was getting an echo of myself, and there's nothing worse.
You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Mick, Alex, I Yield to No One,
Steve,
and Sid.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Horse. I'm your host, Tricky Mick, alongside with me, the man, the myth, and the legend. It's Alex.
The man who has made a surprising run on Redbeard Rik in the annual Rarity event, which I'm sure that Rick will turn the tables on me. But for at least 1 week, I've got one over on him.
Well, speaking of Rick, he's here with us. What's up, Rick?
Oh, hi guys. Yeah, it won't be for long, Alex, I'm afraid. I've been in a rut the last few weeks, but we've got a couple of competitions now, so more trophies are on the agenda.
All right, and the man that's the rarest of them all, Gareth, is with us. How you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Pleasure. First time I've been on this year, so looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah. What was I gonna say?
Now we'll say that we're not that deep into this year, so it's not like we're shunning Gareth.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Gareth has been on every episode this year so far. He just hasn't been live with us.
Yeah, well, apart from last week, but such is life.
Hey,
life gets in the way.
I wasn't here last week myself. I was dealing with the PAX. But I want to thank.
When you say the PAX, it makes it sound like the plague.
So like an STD or something.
I do want to give a shout out to everybody that filled in for me last week. Alex, Yield, Daryl, and Joe. Thank you very much. I was in the chat. Unfortunately, I just didn't have any recording equipment with me, so I couldn't do it. But the guys shared a lot of information. I was going to share the information on the games that they didn't talk about, but I left my binder in my car, and I really don't feel like going to get it right now, so I might do it during the show. I might dip out while Alex goes on one of his 15-minute speeches.
Are you sure I'm going to do that?
You do it every episode.
No, I don't.
Uh-huh.
So what do you mean, like a one-word answer to where you're trying to pull answers out of me like you're pulling crocodile teeth?
Well, you know what? I'm not going to go there. So thank you, everybody, for joining us on Twitch. We are live back on Twitch, so thank you very much for everybody that's going to join us on Twitch. Alex, how you been, sir?
Oh, I've been all right. Actually have tomorrow off, so I'll be able to stay up late and watch WrestleMania tonight.
Night one was pretty damn good.
It was, especially the 3 matches they finished with. It was a strong finish to the night. I
think their best match of the night, arguably, was the 4 tag teams.
Oh, I disagree with that.
Ooh, I think that was the best match of the night.
I mean, that's fine. It was just a bunch of spots, but I think as far as storytelling, there was none of that in there. You had far better storytelling in the final 3 matches, and I don't know. I can understand why people would find the Fatal 4 or the 4-way matches exhilarating because they had a lot of big spots, especially with Ricochet in there. But best match, I don't agree.
Before we go on and ask the other gentlemen how they're doing, just know that me and Daryl sat down and we did our WrestleMania predictions over on our Patreon, so please go support us there. For $1, you can listen to all the episodes, including all 9 episodes of the Last of Us recap. Rick, you're here. I think this is your first show of the year as well. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Yeah, just yeah, pretty good. Got tomorrow off work, so I could have been on later, but 10 o'clock works for me a lot better anyway.
Yeah,
I went to see Shazam today with my boy, the new one. It's pretty good.
Oh, I heard bad things about it.
Really? Well, it's a DC movie, so what do you expect? But it's a good.
I need a good rim shot.
Batman v Superman.
I need a rim shot button on here because Daryl's going to hate you for that. But
I know. That's why I'm saying it.
I do have to say, Rick, that is a very wonderful shirt you're wearing.
It is, isn't it? It's all right. Isn't it?
You like that? You like that shirt, Alex?
Hold on, let me see it again, Rick. Rick, you're going to have to talk because I can't see on. Oh, I'll just pull up the main Skype.
Trophy Horse.
Oh, okay, I got you. The South Park Trophy Horse there.
Yeah. But speaking of shirts, Gareth, where's your shirt?
I've just got Legend.
I meant where's your Trophy Horse shirt?
Well, too much
look.
package shipping.
He's got a Legend shirt on because he's a legend, and then it's New Balance because he's an athlete. So Gareth's just being true to form there.
Yeah, though I am falling apart. It doesn't.
Yeah, and it came very quickly. I was quite surprised.
Yeah,
3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah, you were expecting like 3 or 4 weeks, weren't you?
Yeah. And then suddenly it was there 3 or 4 days later.
Yeah. So thank you, Rick. I'm doing a small plug here and so self promotion here, but I do appreciate your patience in buying the shirt. And Gareth, obviously, I'm just busting your chops, but I know it's expensive to send out there.
Yeah, well, I'll maybe due in America 2026, so maybe I'll get one for then.
So y'all going back to Disney?
Yeah, but that's the plan. Yeah.
Oh, we got you hooked. That's how America gets you hooked is Disney and Universal. Well, probably more Disney, but.
Yeah, I think that'll be because I think the new park opens, isn't it? 2025. The new Universal Park opens.
Is that the Super Mario Brothers?
Yeah.
I thought it was open.
In Japan.
Yeah, not in America. It's 2025 scheduled for.
I saw a post like not too long ago with it was open because people were going to it.
Not that I'm aware of, but
I'm Googling.
You live over there. You might know more.
Well, Tricky's very old, so he's kind of forgetful. So
no, it's open.
There's a new. It's called Islands. Is it Islands or something? The new Universal.
Well, they've got Islands Adventure. Like they've already got those parks. That was established before.
Yeah,
Super Mario stuff.
There is.
I don't know why they just wouldn't call it Super Mario World. Like.
Yeah. I'll tell you what it's.
Super Nintendo World is open in California right now.
Yeah, I'm not talking. No, yeah.
Maybe you talk about the one in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
I was just saying because I saw people going to it. It's like
Epic Universe. It's called Universal's Epic Universe. It's called in Florida. Open in summer 2025.
Got it. Okay. I knew I wasn't going crazy. I know I'm old and I forget things, but anyway.
Yeah.
So let's.
Did you already forget that I told the people you were old?
Yes, I actually did.
Is that how quick the memory goes?
I take a week off and you get your whole high and mighty thinking you're the host and whatnot, and now you just
I don't
feel
know
like
where you get that. I've already admitted on air that I think that you and Daryl are both better hosts, even though Daryl was on the show last week and I hosted. So very clearly, I don't think I'm high and mighty.
Well, that's because I told Daryl, I said, whatever Alex says, do not let him convince you to host the show.
I didn't even try to.
I know. I was impressed. Let's do our updated trophy count. I am level 836, total trophies of 25,435 with 683 platinums. I actually have a little bit more than that, but I just haven't synced my PS4 yet. Alex?
I just don't understand. Again, I'm not gonna have this conversation because I'm sure people have heard it before, but I just don't understand why you don't sync stuff right away. I'm too paranoid. I can't handle that.
Well, because the case is in my car and I use it at work, so every so often I'll bring it in to update, put new games on it and whatnot, and that's when I'll sync it up. But if those trophies went away, I mean, what's it going to take me, like 20 minutes to get them all back? It's not a big deal.
Hey, you can always make more money. You can't make more time. Time is precious, so.
Yeah, but when you can play video games at work, you get paid to get...
Did you knock on wood there? Was that you knocking on wood?
That was not me knocking on wood. I don't know.
It might have been me just put my phone down, but it didn't seem...
You're fine. I was just like, man, it's tricky knocking on wood so they don't take away its precious privileges.
It was pretty loud. Alex, your trophies. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. I introduced this into the conversation, so level 474 with a total trophy count of 8,543 and a platinum count of 140. What? I have 142.
Well, I didn't update your trophies.
I've had 142 since Chicory.
I did not update your trophies.
Apparently, you're using like a 6-week-old agenda. Won 142 and 141 games.
Those are your trophies.
Hold on.
Your trophies got
I need to go update my own damn. I'm not a robot. PSN profiles. Get out of here with your nonsense.
Hold on. I'll tell you right now. Raise Havoc. Here we go. Straight off the PSN, Alex is level 475, total trophies of 8,615 with 142 platinums and 141 games.
Yeah, so you screwed me out of some trophies, Tricky Mick.
See, I didn't update the trophies because normally that's Yield's job and Yield's not here.
Yes, so you screwed me out of some trophies.
I just didn't update
But just
them.
because you don't want to report all your trophies doesn't mean you have to do it for the rest of us.
Yield is level 491, total trophies of 9,319 with 166 platinums. Sid is level 831 with 22,954 trophies and 716 platinums. Rick?
Level 310, 2296, and 40 plats.
And Gareth?
Level 478 with total trophies of 7,988 and a total platinum count of 136.
Ooh, he's a higher level but less platinums than you, Alex.
I mean,
That
that's
probably
fine.
indicates more common trophies, isn't it? That basically sign off.
Probably played more games, yeah. I assume so, because I can't remember my count. It's like 260 something as far as games go.
That's right. I have 3,000 more trophies than Sid, but he still has 33 more platinums.
Tricky, do you ever play a game that doesn't have a platinum?
Occasionally.
I bet you played Abs Animals, haven't you?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Abs Animals. That was like 4 gold trophies that could be earned in about 2 minutes.
I don't even know what that is.
You
He's
should
right.
look it up.
He's writing it down now.
It's more fodder. Throw more
There's 2
coal into
sets
the
as well.
fire.
I think there's a PS3 and a Vita set.
I will
You know, whenever people are burning plastic and that there's that horrible smell, and people are like, "What the hell is that?" Or like a slaughterhouse in the summertime. That's just Tricky Mix. You know, all the shit he's shoveling into the fire there to make his engine go.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's get into what we're playing. Alex, we'll start with you. What have you been playing, sir?
Wait, did we get our guest trophy count?
Yeah, we've done that.
Yeah, we just did it. That's where I just remarked how Gareth had a higher level, but
What was that you were saying about a sign of getting old, Alex?
I didn't say I wasn't old. I've been getting AARP mail for since my mid-20s. So
okay, we're gonna go off on a side tangent here. You're not even supposed to get those until you're like 55. A couple of my friends that are in their 30s are getting them. Are they just losing touch on what age everybody is, or what?
maybe they don't care. Maybe they're
what
just
is
like,
it?
you know what? We've got to send so many out. Just get them out there.
CAARP.
It's basically like a magazine to prepare you for retirement.
All right.
Wait, say the American Association of Retired Persons.
So
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I'm just 4 years away from retirement, but I'm nowhere close to the age to retire.
That's you and your specified line of work. That is not the rest of us.
Don't be jealous. I got a 20-year pension.
Some of us still have 20 years to go. Or probably longer than that, since most of us probably can't retire by 65.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I'll be able to retire at 47 years old, but I still have like 20 more years before I can clutch Social Security, so I'll have to go down and get a BS job working at a gas station or something.
Nice that you insult all the people who listen to our show that work at gas stations by calling their work BS.
I didn't mean it like that. Thank you for trying to turn my words on me.
You said What else are you supposed to mean by that? You said some BS job. How are you turning the words against you?
I just said get a bullshit job. I wasn't specifying it to a gas station.
But you said gas station.
But okay. Okay, I realize I made the statement together, but that's not what I meant. I apologize to anybody who works at a gas station. I'm not trying to insult your job. I'm just saying I'm going to go get a bullshit job.
Such as?
I'm not going there. I'm not finishing that statement.
Such as playing video games with taxpayer money.
Maybe when I retire, I do this full time, and I'm on Twitch 8 hours a day with no viewers.
Who's gonna watch you spam for 8 hours a day? Well, 16 hours a day probably.
Funny thing is I've been when I stream the Division on Twitch, I've been noticing like what comes over a Twitch and what comes on my TV screen are two completely different. It's like one looks better, one doesn't. It always like flip flops. I went in and changed the settings on the Division back to the default, graphics. Now they look exactly the same. I have no idea why it was different on the two, but now it looks fantastic.
Hooray.
Okay. Did you get through what you're playing? Did we even start you what you're playing, Alex?
No, because I got confused. Because I haven't had my memory pill or my DHA or my salmon today to help me with my memory loss. And I questioned whether we got Gareth and Rik taken care of as far as the trophy counts go.
It's called Ginkgo biloba.
It's called stumbling over the words.
Well, I mean, you try saying Ginkgo biloba 20 times fast.
You didn't say it 20 times fast. You said it one time very slowly.
I'm old. Leave me alone. Tell me what you're playing, Alex.
Ginkgo biloba.
There you go.
I mean, I don't know. I think we should let our guests go first.
Oh, why? Why must you do this to me on WrestleMania Day? Gareth, can you please tell us what you're playing? Because Alex is being a butt nugget.
It's WrestleMania 2 day. It was last night, too.
Okay, so this week I'll just go for, which is been playing Back for Blood. Been doing it probably weekly with a group of guys from the PlayStation UK podcast. So there's 4 of us. We're going through the campaign on that. Really, really enjoyable actually, especially going through as a 4. But I have found that playing online together, it is actually significantly harder than if you were to play it offline on your own. The number of enemies, the sort of that come at you when there's 4 of you is just crazy. So
essentially, the game scales to the number of people playing.
Yeah, and it's unfavourable. So at the moment, we've only done it on sort of the recruit level for each of the different acts. You've got to do it on. It does stack, but recruit, veteran, and then there's sort of nightmare mode. It's called, and I've been playing through the nightmare mode single player offline, and I haven't died or haven't sort of had to restart once yet. Whereas on recruit with the 4 of us, we've had to sort of, a few times had to sort of use continues to carry on. But that's going to be a long haul because there is a trophy in there. It's only a bronze trophy, and it's for killing 53,600 ridden, which is the equivalent, which is their zombies. So I think I'm on nearly 13,000 at the moment, having been playing this for about 2.5 months. So it will be a long burn for that one to go. It's not even an ultra rare as well. It's only a very rare trophy, but it's so you'll be playing that. You'll keep repeating the campaign over and over and over and over again. But that's what they're trying to get you to do. But it is a good time anyway, regardless. Just playing as a 4 player. So that's what we tend to do on Thursday evenings, and that's a lot of fun. I've just finished the campaign for Ghost of Tsushima or Tsushima today, and I've just got a little bit of end game stuff to do for the platinum, and then the DLC. But that was a phenomenal game, one of the greatest I've played. Actually, I would put it up there. Really enjoyed that. I've been playing a racer. I always like to have a racer on the go as well. And I've been playing Gravel. It's pretty good. It's on sale at the moment for about, it's £1.59 over here, so a couple of dollars probably in your current sale at the moment. It's not bad. It's not going to win any awards. I wouldn't have won any awards anyway because it's a little bit older, but it's decent enough. And then the latest game I've played is I turned to PS Extra, and I'm playing a game at the moment called El Hijo, a Wild West Tale, and it's a third-person stealth game, which is quite a bit of fun and worth checking out if you're after something being a bit stealthy. There's no shooting involved. It's just a kid who's trying to find his mother again. It looks like there's 31 levels to play. Trophies are okay. There is a trophy for going through every level without being caught, but you can replay the levels easy enough. And the best thing about that game, though, there is an in-game trophy tracker for every single trophy that's in the game, and it keeps your progress on every stat available as well. So that's one of the, I wish more games would do that. But
mandatory, isn't it?
Yeah, but and Dangerous Golf is the other one. So I've done the hardest trophies in that, so I'm on my way to platinum. I've just got to do the co-op campaign in that. The only problem is I've had one trophy, or one part of a trophy, glitch on me, which weirdly enough, I did it on an alternate account just to see whether it would work on that, and it did, which was collecting all Smash signatures, it's called. It didn't do it on my main account, even though it's the same download, everything. So I'm going to have to finish the co-op campaign, delete all the save data, and then play through again to get this one trophy. Bit of a pain, but it'd be worth it in terms of how rare the platinum is. Be a good one to get. I think Yield has got it, actually. But that's me done.
All right, Rick?
I've not really been playing much the last few weeks. I play games at work as well, but on my phone. So I've just bought Slay the Spire on that because I've finished it now on PlayStation, finished it on Xbox, got all the achievements and that, trophies, and there's an achievement list on the mobile one. So I've been chipping away at that while I'm at work. Every time I get 5 minutes, I'm just like, boom, leave the game open and keep going back on it. Other than that, pretty much all I've been playing is Fallout 76 with my lad. Really, really good game. I've played Elder Scrolls Online, and with Elder Scrolls Online, I was hoping for Skyrim, but online, and it's completely not that. It's completely different. Whereas Fallout 76 is very much just Fallout 4, but online. Plays exactly like it. There's a huge amount of quests to do, as is like typical, I assume, with these MMO games. But I've just been playing with me and James, my boy, have been playing like maybe about 2-3 hours a day. Maybe 2 hours. Like we played about 3 hours today. You can buy this thing called Fallout First, where you get like a private server. So I thought, I'll buy that for a month. So I got the game for free. It was on PS Plus. I'll buy that for a month because I don't really want us two to be there with other people. It turns out we're going to have to do that eventually. Certainly I am. I don't know if he's bothered about going for the platinum. Because you need a good 8-person team to do the last boss. But yeah, just me and him playing in the server together. He's downstairs on the PS5, I'm upstairs on the PS4 and just chatting on headset. Been brilliant. Other than that, not really played anything. But that's going to change, Alex. I'm coming for you.
If you want to spend more quality time with the boy, with James the Nerd, just take it slow. I got no issues there. I think that time is very important, so I get it.
All right, Alex, you're up.
Well, I didn't get to play any Rocket League with the guys this week because I had a weird work schedule on Thursday due to inventory. But got some in this week on the weekend playing with the randoms and, hit or miss there. But most of my energy this week and a lot of I was watching WrestleMania last night, but also had dual TVs going. So I was playing Resident Evil 4 on one TV and watching WrestleMania on the big TV. I have one big complaint with that game. And
that is Resident Evil?
No, it's that I feel like it's stuck somewhere between an action game and a horror game, a survival horror game, where it's like this is where the series transit. Like everyone points to Resident Evil 5 as being too actiony. This is kind of where the series transitions, it seems, to more action. It's still more survival horror, but for the amount of enemies they throw at you, it's an action game. For the amount of resources they give you, it's survival horror. Now, you can usually, the difficulty spikes at certain places. So through most of the game, you can get through encounters fine, but there are certain times when you just have say 2 chainsaw wielding maniacs coming after you, and then all of a sudden 10 more enemies pouring behind you. There's just difficulty spikes in the game where they don't really give you a ton more ammo, and it's just how do I do this? Even on standard difficulty, how do you want me to do this? So I feel and Daryl brought this up last week, talking about the bullet sponginess that they've kind of played with and toyed with over the course of the remakes, but I still don't think it's I still think they have some work to do with that because, again, if this is a survival horror game, there are way too many enemies and difficult enemies thrown at you for you be able to save ammo in the way it seems they want you to. Now, obviously, like going into New Game Plus and having like upgrade stuff, it'll make it a little easier. And I plan to go through on assisted anyway, because once I beat it on standard, I'm gonna have to beat it on professional one day. I'll just do it on assisted because I play this game like 1,000 times. But that's my big gripe, is that this game has kind of an identity crisis where it's kind of transitioning to one, but still trying to hold on to the fact that it has survival horror roots. So I may take some heat for that, but I mean, overall, it's a good game. It's just there are some very frustrating difficulty spikes that make me like almost regret buying the game and not waiting until later on to play it, because I just get so I do the best I can. I get as many headshots as I can, and you're just like stuck in small cramped spaces, and you've got enemies just pouring in, and yeah, there are just times when it's just you want to throw your hands up, be like, what? How was this designed this way? So, but I'm in chapter 8 now, so I'm about halfway through the game. Well, there's 16 chapters, so I'm a little bit less than halfway through the game, but I'm making it through. And I'm refusing. I'm going to make it through on standard. I'm not going to turn down the difficulty. I'm going to make it all the way through. But yeah, I mean, overall, I love the briefcase system, the way that they handle inventory. You know, I love, being able to craft stuff and scrounging for ammo. I like the whole shop system, the shopkeeper and stuff. And, but yeah, I mean, overall, like at times the difficulty spikes and just kind of the way they develop things, like it just kind of gets to me a little bit. And I wonder, do they have one foot out the door and one foot still in the door to where they're not completely committed to one genre or the other? Gareth or Rik, have either one of you played the game at all?
I haven't. No. It's too recent for me to have played.
The reason I ask is because there are times when Leon talks to somebody, I can't remember her name, but he's got a partner who's helping him along with his mission, and he'll be talking to her, and all I can hear is Leon. I can't hear the other person on the other end, like over his comms. So I just don't know if that's a bug where you're supposed to hear that person's audio, but you never do. But yeah, I only get half the conversation because Leon's the only person I can hear. That's just why I asked that. But yeah, I'm sure I'll have more fun once I get to New Game Plus and can eventually buy the rocket launcher, the infinite rocket launcher. But yeah, I mean, there's some runs on this game that I don't ever intend to do. Like, you got to get S+, you got to beat the game on standard and hardcore in under 5 hours and 30 minutes. And the thing that sucks is there's a trophy like Gun Maniac that's tied to earning all the guns in the game. And some of the guns are tied behind the most difficult runs in the game. You get them as a prize, and I'm sure they're extremely powerful weapons. But you get a bronze trophy for collecting all the weapons, but yet some of them are tied to the most difficult aspects of the game. It's like, a bronze, really? So at least make it worth it for people. But yeah, I
think it's around five playthroughs roughly, isn't it, for the platinum?
I've seen optimally. I mean, at the very least, it's 4, but I've seen optimally like 6+.
Yeah,
because you got to do just a pistol and knife run. You got to do a professional on New Game. You got to do S+ runs on hardcore and standard, which you can't use New Game Plus for that. You have to beat it on New Game. So, yeah, you've got to do at least 4, but they recommend, since you're not going to know exactly the best ways to tackle everything, to do 6+ runs, which is a lot. Like, I understand that there are people that already have the Platinum Trophy, and there are some people, like, you really have to love this game to want to get the Platinum Trophy, and the fact that Capcom expects you to put so much energy into it is a little off-putting. That shouldn't stop you from enjoying the game, but it is certainly really annoying that they expect you to play this game so damn much just to get the Platinum Trophy.
So that's fairly typical, though, isn't it, of their
yeah, but I had to put a ton of work into Resident Evil Revelations, I remember, but I got the Platinum Trophies in Resident Evil 6 and Resident Evil 5, and I played a Resident Evil 5 a ton. But I don't remember it being so arduous.
Certainly the remakes, that's where they put a lot of the playthroughs in. They have like a knife-only run, I think, in 2 and 3. And then there's
knife and pistol, yeah, it's back.
No, I think it's knife-only. Or maybe it's 7. There's one that's literally just a knife. Or
yeah,
you can use the pistol on the bosses or something like that, maybe.
Well, one of the trophies...
Invisible enemy runs.
Yeah, because there's some places like the first major boss, you have to use harpoons to take it down. So you've got to use other things besides the knife and the pistols. But there's like a run where you have to do where you can't talk to the merchant at all, which Once you buy the infinite rocket launcher, that's easy because you have the infinite rocket launcher and you don't need anything else. You don't need to talk to the guy. But you just have to do all these runs. And, no matter how much I enjoyed the game, like I love Horizon, but the mere fact that you would say, okay, like I don't care how much you like Metal Gear Solid. Like even, Tricky still marvels at Donnie and how many times he played Metal Gear Solid 4 to get the Platinum Trophy. It's just like, I don't care how much you love a game. I don't want to play it that much to get the Platinum Trophy. So yeah. But no, I mean, I like Resident Evil 4. I understand why people like it so much. It's just there are certain moments where I question design choices, and having them so close to release, I really do. Like, I've heard Resident Evil is like the crown jewel of survival horror, and I understand that position, but to me, the Dead Space remake is just better. It's a better game.
I agree. Yeah.
So, but still, I mean, Resident Evil 4 is a lot of fun. I say that I regret buying it at times, but I want to play through it because I could have just said fuck it and quit a long time ago. I want to get through it. I want to experience it. And if I don't get the trophies, that's fine. I'll get as many as I can and I'll just move on. But yeah, I just kind of wish that Capcom would kind of look at, I don't know. It seems like they still need to scale things, but I've said all that before. So yeah, that's what I've been playing.
All right. And the only thing I've been playing all week is some Sifu. Some Cuties Hacked, which I don't recommend anybody playing, and Division 2. That's all I've been playing.
How you doing at Sifu? How many times you died?
I am age 24 right now.
So would you say honestly I've heard basic mechanics of how the game works, but is that you doing well? How far are you into the game?
Okay. I'm going into the last boss now. I'm age 24. I've died enough where I think, like, if legit, I would be, like, probably around, like, 40. Not dying too much, but there's mechanics and there's modifiers in the game where if you kill a certain enemy, you go down, an age. You could also buy tokens to reduce your age by 5 years. I've done that once. So, I do well until I get to the bosses, and then the bosses I tend to die like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. But,
well, I mean, they're supposed to be the ultimate challenge for a certain area, so
yeah. So, but the bosses, I feel like they cheese a lot. Like the last boss I just fought, I couldn't tell you her name, but she was using this. I don't know what you call the weapon, but it's like a bell on the end of a chain that they, like if you've seen a Kung Fu movie, like they wrap around their bodies and they use their foot to throw it at you, to kick it at you, or they move their body in a way where it comes off their neck and it's just shoots right at you. Like getting to her was so hard because every time you start to run, she would hit you with that. So you have to stop, block, and then try to run in again. So it was a little frustrating. It didn't do too much damage because I was able to block it well. But it gets frustrating. But once you learn the mechanics of each boss, it gets pretty easy.
Did they just do some DLC new DLC trophies for that last week?
Yeah, I was actually just looking on PSN profiles. Apparently, there's going to be an arenas.
I think it's out, isn't it? I thought.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the trophies right now. Yeah, it's called arenas. Right now, I'm looking at it, and the rarest trophy, according to them, is an 8.67%.
So you're just passing that one by anyway.
No, I'll get that one, but a lot of these are.
Oh man, that's very shade there.
Listen, like I said on the last show, I was like, when Gareth does his updates, I just wait to see how he's going to roast me.
I've been pretty lenient in a lot of people recently.
Yeah, but once I get through the game, then I'll go back and get some of the DLCs. That's where a lot of my uncommon trophies came from. But right now, currently, the platinum for Sifu is sitting at a 27.42% on PSN profile. So if I get that platinum, you all can shut up about me not playing good games.
It's a good 1 point that. But
yeah.
Gareth's like, Tricky's like, y'all can shut up. I'm gonna shove it in your face, dunk on you. And Gareth's like, yeah, that's a good 1 point there.
Hey, I'm tired of everybody saying I can only platinum spam games. Okay.
You haven't platinumed anything else yet.
I'm getting there. Leave me alone.
No, I will point out that I'm waiting for Tricky to submit his first game for the Backlog Beatdown 4, which unless I missed it, he hasn't yet.
I'm not submitting any games to that. I've completed 4 games and I've not submitted 1 game to the Backlog Beatdown yet.
Why is that?
Because my own personal reasons, which I'm not going to go into because I don't want to throw shade.
Oh, you got heat. There's heat between you and somebody.
No, it's heat in general because every time I've competed in one of these, everybody comes after me like, "Oh, Tricky's cheating." I'm like, "Well, F you guys. I'm not competing no more."
But I mean, don't say you're cheating in the rarity event.
Well, they can't because it's all out there. But I mean, to be fair, I am kind of cheating a little bit.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Well,
I'm having deja vu because we're going back to when you called gas station workers having BS jobs and then try to go back on that.
Okay,
you just lambasted people for calling you a cheater, and then you admitted seconds later. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I did kind of cheat.
Okay, I'm not. Okay, let me rephrase. I'm not cheating. I'm sandbagging. Because there's been some games I played that I'm hiding the trophies on that I'm gonna wait until like the end of December and unlock them all at the same time, and then boom. I'm going to jump up like 600 points.
24th place.
So, we're
hold on. So you're expecting by the end of the year to be able to jump up in the rarity event to like 600 points?
Yes.
I mean, you'll still be out of the top 5. I mean, you would still be out of the top 5 by now.
Well, no, I'm gonna get trophies as the year goes on, and hopefully by December comes, it'll be more than 600 points. But there's okay.
So what is the benefit of doing that? Just out of interest.
Because if nobody sees what I'm playing, the rarity stays the same. Because like Daryl said prior, if he sees I played a game, then he's gonna purposely go play that game to knock down the rarity. And I know
how many billions of people in the world is there, and how many?
Well, okay, but I know there's other people that are going to do that.
24 people in a rarity contest are going to make a massive difference to
No, but the point is that like, okay, so let's say I'm just gonna throw a number out there. Let's say I have 600 points worth of trophies hidden.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not about making sure the rarity stays the same. It's to make sure that somebody doesn't come along and get the same points to basically keep pace with me. I'm going to throw it all at once and be like, boom, here's my thing. Now they don't have enough time to go get that trophy and earn that point for themselves.
Yeah, but that's hidden on PSN profiles, not your PlayStation profile.
It's hidden on my PlayStation profile.
Like I don't think you could hide games on your PlayStation profile.
That's why, like, if you go to like PSN profiles at the top where it says I'm hiding, like I don't know how many trophies it says I'm hiding.
83. I'm looking right now.
Yeah.
How many?
83. I think you've always been hiding that though. Are they not the games you have to take off?
These games are on the PlayStation that I haven't synced yet.
All right. Okay. See, that makes sense now. Right.
But yeah,
okay.
you actually so on PSN profiles where it says I'm hiding trophies, I'm hiding them on the PSN. But somehow they know that I'm still hiding them, which I don't understand how they know I'm still hiding them. But it's neither here nor there. But yeah, this way so nobody can get the points for the same games and basically negate. Because I know.
Yeah. So that's aimed at the 4 people below you then.
Listen, all I'm gonna say is Tricky's gonna be in the top 5 by the end of the year.
Oh, I don't think so.
That's a big show.
I'll put money on that. I'll put money on that right now, Tricky.
You want to do an extra life donation for it?
Go for it. Well, I don't have an extra life though. I can think of a charity though.
I'll give you the cash. You do the extra life donation.
All right, fair enough.
How much you want to go? We're gonna make this live and on Twitch right now.
Yeah, go. Yeah. 30.
How much?
30.
30? Okay.
Gareth, or Rick, I got your back. I'm gonna stay in the top 5. Well, that was my plan all along, but I'm gonna stay in the top 5.
You want to put your money where your mouth is too, Alex?
No, I'm gonna put my money where Rick's money is. Where Rick's money is. But I'm gonna do my damnedest to keep you out of that top 5. I'll remind you, Tricky, that I just played a game that had 11 ultra rare trophies. Probably more ultra rare trophies than you have in total.
So 3 of the top 5 are on this podcast now, and the other 2 are flying anyway as the top 2, getting every week 100 points.
It's a matter of pride that I beat Alex and Yield in the rarity contest. It's a matter of pride.
I don't think you beat Yield, let alone Alex.
I'm good. But at the end of the year, I will be above both of them. This way, neither one of them can say that I play the shooting games only. They have to admit that I've played better games than them in the course of the year.
But Tricky, you have the big PlayStation titles like Spider-Man and Horizon, which have very common trophy lists.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kalai got the platinum trophy in Ghost of Tsushima, but got very little points for it, or almost none, because all the trophies are mostly common. And then you have a game like that I played recently, Cartoon Network Battle Crashers, which has 11 ultra rare trophies, and it's a very crappy game. So that has nothing to do with the quality of the games you're playing. But all right, Tricky, we'll see how confident you are by the end of the year.
All right.
So I'm going to keep ripping them off, buddy.
You keep ripping them off, and I'll keep hiding my trophies until December 23rd, maybe. I'll release them. Give you guys a nice Christmas gift of how I jumped up. Maybe that would be my Christmas gift to you this year, Alex, to make you wallow in the fact that you're not a better gamer than me. Ooh, no comments. He's keeping quiet now. All right, let's get into our topics. The PlayStation games for April have been announced, and it is quite a good list, depending on how you want to look at it. The games we're going to be getting are... why is this link not working? Meet Your Maker for the PS4 and PS5. Sackboy, A Big Adventure for the PS4 and PS5. And Tales of Iron for the PS4 and PS5. Alex, since you're quiet about, not being a better gamer, why don't you tell us about how excited you are for these games? Or we lost Alex.
So that's why he was quiet.
I thought it was kind of quiet that he wasn't talking shit. All right, Gareth, we'll start with you. Now, with both you guys being across the pond, the games are the same, right? You guys get the same games we get?
Yeah, same ones.
Okay.
I'm looking forward
Japan
to
used to have different ones. Sorry.
Yeah, it did. No, you can. No, you're right. Yeah, Japan did have different ones, but haven't they unified them majority of the time? Haven't they now right across the board?
Changing it, yeah.
And I know they are obviously they get the odd one or two different based. I think it's to do with like censorship a lot of the time, isn't it? When they can't have the same. But no, out of these ones, I'm looking forward to 2 of them. Sackboy, I've held off getting that because I knew that would obviously being a PlayStation first party, I knew that would come eventually to the catalogue, and obviously it's done. I thought it might have come to extra, to be honest, but it's obviously come to the essential package. So that's one that I'll certainly be checking out. And the other one is the what was it called? Tales of Iron, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I watched the trailer of that, and they've released some decent indie titles, and obviously that is one of them. I think Toem was another one that they recently released, and they've got a habit of releasing these sort of decent indie ones. The third game, that Meet Your Maker, I watched the trailer for that. I think it's good that PlayStation have dropped this one. Obviously, it's a brand new release, day and date. They do that from time to time. Having watched the trailer, though, I'll be surprised if I get round to it. Having looked at it, doesn't really sort of appeal to me massively.
I think Tricky just said he'd be right back. So I guess I'll go. Sorry, were you finished, guys?
Yeah, I was finished. I was just going to say what your thoughts on them as well.
I think I bought Sackboy's Big Adventure when I first got the PS5, and I did play it with James. Probably got about 4 or 5 hours into it.
It's quite a tough one, isn't it, to platinum?
Yeah, that's sort of what put me off. This is I was on my old account and I was like, I don't think I'm going to try and get the platinum in that. And we just ended up stopping playing it. James was into it, but he wasn't that into it. He'd rather play other stuff. I'll take it for free because that was the physical copy I had, so I traded it in. So I'll take it again for free.
Is it from your experience? Then is it easier in co-op mode, or would single player be easier doing if you wanted to go for the platinum?
Well, I think there's a few levels that you need to do in co-op for the platinum.
Right.
We'll talk about Sackboy. I'm sorry, I had to step away for a second. Sackboy. There are several levels that you have to have two people with.
You can't even play them without.
You can't even access certain areas, and it will show you like there's a sign that shows like 2 or 3 faces or 4 faces. So
I presume that's online co-op as well.
Yes,
not just local.
It is online co-op. So that and the first game that we're going to be talking about next in our next topic, I want to set up some gamer nights so we can get those trophies. So I'm sorry.
I might go into that.
I cut you guys off. I'm sorry.
It's all good. I was just saying I bought that when it first came out for the PS5, but traded it in because it put me off the platinum. But me and James played it a bit together, so I'll probably get him back into it again. But I think it's up to 4 players, some of these co-op levels, aren't they?
Yes.
So it would be worth jumping in.
Is that one you said you were getting gamer night? Sorry, tricky for.
Yeah,
the Sackboy one.
The Sackboy, and we're gonna be talking about Marvel's Avengers next, but I want to get some gamer nights with those. Just because with Avengers they're shutting down the servers in I think September.
Are they not shutting Is it not shutting the servers itself? The platinum's still going to be available. Is it not that they've done the latest update? Oh, sorry, the last update.
The last update made basically everything in the game free. All costumes, all cosmetics, all that stuff. All that stuff is free now. But that's the last update they're going to do. I did see that they're releasing the War Machine. Well, I don't know if it's a cosmetic or they're actually releasing the character. I saw the article in passing and didn't know. And I know we're getting derailed off the PlayStation Plus games, but and then now that update's out there, I think they're actually shutting the service off in September. So.
Oh really? Okay. I haven't seen that they were shutting them off. I just knew that it was.
Maybe that's in the article. Maybe I'll go over that. But let's get back to the PlayStation Plus games. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the other two I've known nothing about really. This Meet Your Maker sounds all right. Post-apocalyptic first-person building and raiding game. I like the first part of that. I'm not sure about the raiding, but I do like a good. I assume it's like survival. You pick up supplies and stuff and build up your base. I didn't think I liked games like that, but going off some of the ones I played, it turns out I do. So I might give that a go. But this is all.
I think
every level is designed by other users. I don't know if I like the sound of that. I'd rather the game devs did their job and developed a game, and then you can add in user-generated content. Fair enough, but don't make it just that.
Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Meet Your Maker the game that I talked about like a week or two ago, and Yield was watching the trailer for it as we were recording? Am I thinking of the same game?
We talked about it longer than a week ago because it was, well, you weren't here last week, so it was definitely longer than a week ago, but we talked about it as a day one release on PlayStation Plus.
Okay, so it is the same game I'm thinking about. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. Alex, what do you think about these games?
So I think it's a good month. I mean, Tales of Iron looks really good. It's one of those games that I immediately look at and I'm kind of drawn to, but like because of the aesthetic style of it, but gameplay looks like a lot of fun too. And I think this is where PlayStation Plus, I mean, yeah, we all like getting the big games and stuff like that for free, but this is where PlayStation Plus really has power to do good for not only developers, but also like us, is where they introduce us to a game that I certainly would have never looked at before. And I think Rick said he's never heard of it before. And it may turn to be really awesome. So I think that smaller games like this can really flourish thanks to PlayStation Plus, or at least get developers' name out there. I mean, you know, people may just play it on Plus and not buy it, go out and spend the money on it, because they already have the subscription, they have access to the game. But this then puts that developer on the map with that player, and then they say, okay, well, I'm going to follow this developer now. At one point, Housemarque was a company that I had never heard of before, and after one game, I was like, I'm into Housemarque. I'm super into Housemarque. I love Housemarque. So, stuff like this can really help smaller studios. So Tales of Iron looks really good. Sackboy, a big adventure. I do appreciate that it gets away a little bit from the creation aspect and more into just like, I think the IGN article said, more like of a Mario structure. I would enjoy like just straight platforming a little bit more instead of having all the creation tools there. That just is a little bit much for me. I like to create things in small doses, but not big, large worlds. So that is more appealing to me. Having to play levels in co-op, I mean, I'm sure I can find people in the community, or Ashley would be willing to play with me for Sackboy. But I mean, a big thing to point out is all these games, because they will be free on PlayStation Plus, might have, as JT would say, the trophy rarity bloat, where the trophies for these games, and they may not be hard games, might become inflated because you got so many people that now have access to them. So that is one thing to look out for. I can't remember the other game, Meet Your Maker. Still, I mean, honestly, even after hearing about it, I still haven't paid much attention to it. So I can't say one thing one way or the other. But Tales of Iron was an immediately appealing game to me, and Sackboy Big Adventure, just knowing that it's more Mario style and less Little Big Planet is something I can get behind. So.
Yeah, there's no building in this one, so.
Yeah, thank Jeebus. So overall, I'd say it's a really good month.
All right, let's go into our next topic. As I alluded to before, Marvel's Avengers got its last patch ever. This is coming from IGN and is written by Amelia Zollner. Just under 3 years after its release, support for Marvel's Avengers is winding down. Today, Crystal Dynamics released patch 2.8 for Marvel's Avengers, which adds some final features and bug fixes to the game before it gets delisted later this year. Crystal Dynamics revealed the patch via a blog post, which thanks players for their support. The patch focuses on introducing some final features for the game and includes a host of new bug fixes. Patch 2.8 makes many of the game's cosmetics more accessible, fully removing the shipments and hero package challenge card systems from the game, and instead putting their rewards in the marketplace. The update also automatically converts players' credits balances into in-game resources and turns heroes, catalysts, and fragment extractors into a permanent 1.5 multiplier on earned fragments and XP. Additionally, players who earned at least one trophy before April 1st will receive Iron Man's Variable Threat Response Battlesuit as a thank you gift. There are patch notes. Official support for Marvel's Avengers is slated to end on September 30th, and the game will then be delisted. I'm not going to go through all the patch notes, but yeah, it's coming to an end, and like I said, I'd like to organize a gamer night for the people that want to get this platinum and wrap it up.
I did see that despite that, obviously you're right, mentioned that it was being delisted. It does, sort of another article did say it continued saying, thankfully it will continue to be playable in both single player and multiplayer modes. So I don't think although support is shutting down on 30th of September, I think it looks like it still will be playable, which means obviously the platinum will be obtainable, certainly for the foreseeable future, but it'd probably be recommended to get it done sooner rather than later.
Right. I mean, we got, 5 months to do it? So, we got plenty
of time. 100 hour plat?
Yeah. I think, I know Felicia, friend of the show, I know she got the platinum. So,
right.
Well done, Felicia there. 100 hours, like that just, I was almost going to play Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, and then I saw that I was 100-hour platinum. I'm like, no, thank you. That just scares me away completely. So good for Felicia for putting in the time to get that platinum trophy. But man, that is a lot. That's a lot of work.
To be fair, and I know that I think I'm one of the only people on the show that played Marvel's Avengers. The game was good. The problem is that once you reach the end game, there was really nothing to do, and it just kind of repeated itself over and over and over again. It got really boring, and it's like, why am I still doing this? I mean, one of the trophies I have to get is I have to unlock, I have to open 50 treasure boxes, but it doesn't really be clear about which boxes that you have to open, and it's so weird Because they don't explain a lot to you, but they explain enough to you, but they don't explain to you. Like, even when they released Spider-Man, like, people were having trouble finding out where the hell Spider-Man was. And it wasn't until you walked to the front of the helicarrier and you saw a spiderweb that you interacted with the spiderweb. It's like, oh, okay, now there's Spider-Man. So, Rick, did you play Avengers at all?
No, James played it, my lad. I watched him play it a bit. I don't fancy that one. It's weird that they delist a game. It makes sense when they do it for like licensing issues and stuff. But I suppose if they're not going to support it, that's what they have to do, isn't it? No one wants to buy it and not have the game supported.
Well, I think when they delist games, and this is just my personal opinion, I think they delist them because if there's no official support for them, then it's because it's a game for service. So if there's no official support, that they kind of delist it. I think they did the same thing for Anthem as well.
Well, I mean, but is that just that has to be a case-by-case basis because you have something like the Nintendo still sells Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but the support for that game, like bug fixes and all that and patches, has ended. They're not doing it anymore. So, yeah, it's not every game though.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be a case-by-case basis. And I just want to give a big fuck you to Joe in the chat who said the Rangers suck.
I mean, maybe he's right though.
He's not right.
Well, that's coming from a Rangers fan,
and that's coming from a Devils fan. Yes, hockey.
That's like that. I mean, that's like me getting me to admit that Voltron is better than Power Rangers. I'm a Power Rangers fan. I'm not going to do that.
Please, let's not go into this. You guys went on this already.
What do you mean? We didn't. It was like 10 replies. Like it wasn't even anything. Like I constantly wake up to 20, 30 unread messages in the chat about nothing. And then we had like a small back and forth between, which we didn't even argue. We were all jovial. It was me, Homer, and Yield. And you're like, oh, don't get this started again. We didn't even argue. We were just having fun.
Mm-hmm. Homer starting his text messages at 4 o'clock in the morning, by the way.
Don't even jump on Homer because I had to turn that conversation, that thread on Do Not Disturb because y'all would go into the late hours of the night and all I would hear when I'm trying to sleep and when Ashley's trying to sleep is beep, 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 beep.
Can't help
it's just like what's going on here? What are we doing?
We can't.
Nobody else have to work.
We can't help that you're old and you have to go to bed by 8 a.m. or 8 p.m.
I'm younger than you,
but I stay up.
So as old as I am, I'm still younger than you.
But I still stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning. All right, moving on to our next topic here. I put this one in just for you, Rick. I want you to know. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I know you were coming on the show, so I put this on there for you. It's coming from IGN and written by Ryan Dinsdale. PlayStation VR 2 reportedly off to an underwhelming start. Sony's PlayStation VR 2 is reportedly off to an underwhelming start with the virtual reality headset only expected to sell 270,000 copies by the end of March. As reported by Bloomberg, the figure comes from research firm IDC, and while 270,000 is still a lot of headsets, reports last year indicated that Sony was looking to produce 2 million PSVR 2 headsets and sold by the end of March. Vice President of Data and Analytics at IDC, Francisco Geronimo, told Bloomberg that Sony would need to cut the price of the VR2 to stop its launch from being a, quote, complete disaster. The headset, which already sits at $550, is made even pricier by the additional $500 cost of the required PS5. Quote, consumers around the world are facing rising cost of living, rising interest rates, and rising layoffs. VR headsets are not top of the mind for most consumers under the current economic climate. I suspect a price cut on the PSVR 2 will be needed to avoid a complete disaster of their new product. That is where I'm going to stop. Rick, I'm going to throw the floor to you.
Okay, so the original VR, right, they were crazy when it sold 2 million units, and that took like good 2.5 years, I think. And now they expect to sell 2 million units of the second one in what?
A month?
A month?
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not going to happen. The people that are going to buy it are the people that have got the original one, I think. First, anyway. Certainly at the top price, but the top price is too much. I've said before, fair enough. It's there's a lot of tech goes into it. I can understand why it's that price, but I'm not shelling out 530. I could go and buy a new PS5 if I wanted to, for less than I could buy a PSVR 2. And I can't play the games I've got already on it. So, I mean, the ideal thing would be to go and trade in my PSVR 1, but then I'd have like a good 40, 50 games that I couldn't play anymore. So I think 400 quid, I think that's my sweet spot. Once it goes down to that, then I'll definitely get one. But before then, I'm not paying 530 quid. And then plus, I'll have to spend another 50 quid on top of that to buy a camera. Because the camera doesn't come with it, does it?
I believe it does. Let me double check.
I think it just comes with the headset and the controllers.
Do you have the original camera for the PS4?
Yeah. I don't think that works with it, does it?
Okay. Well, it doesn't right now, but if you contact Sony, as I'm looking up the VR2, what it comes with, if you contact Sony, they'll send you the adapter for free. That'll let you use the original camera.
No, that's just so you can play PSVR 1.
On PS5, yeah.
Oh, so the VR2 doesn't work with that camera?
No, you need a PS5 camera. So that's like, and that doesn't come in the box. That's an extra 50 quid on top of it.
Okay, then I'm looking this up to see what comes in the box. But while I'm doing that, Gareth, why don't you tell us about what's your thoughts on the VR2?
Yeah, I've toyed with the idea of getting it nearly a couple of times. Decided to take the plunge, but whilst obviously there's no denying that it's a high price, but we know that what's in there in terms of the tech, it's actually value for money in terms of that. But obviously we're not looking at objectively just at that work, because obviously we're the cost of living crisis, having just come out of the pandemic, the other side, it's been it's tough. People are looking at cancelling their Netflix subscriptions at the moment, or looking at any way they can to save money to make ends meet. And the prospect of buying a VR2 peripheral, which obviously most people don't do their bulk of their gaming on, it's a hard one to take. To shell out the best part of nearly 600 quid for a headset, a game, and the camera. The other issue, I don't know what it's like over there in the States. They're talking about 270,000 units. I remember when PSVR 1 came out, that was available from a multitude of suppliers in terms of from a retail perspective, whereas PSVR 2 is not available over here in the UK from high street retailers, or the only place we can get it is PlayStation Direct, Sony. And if people don't have access to that, or it's not like people like to do the shopping where they do it. And for people who are familiar with UK sort of shops, places like Argos, Currys, where they offer it on a those shops tend to offer their tech on a finance scheme, potentially interest free. That usually tempts people into buying it. You don't have that option at the moment, so it's a full 600 quid. Full 600 quid that you need to shell out and want it. People just aren't prepared to do that at the moment, so it's understandable why there's a lull in sales. And to be honest with you, the expectation of 2 million is completely unrealistic in my opinion for the first month.
All right, I got to cut you off right there. I just did some Googling. 1, the camera does not come in the VR2 box. But 2, you do not need a camera for the VR2.
Okay.
I've just seen that. So it's all in the headset, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just a quick Google. This is coming from theshortcut.com, written by Adam, I can't pronounce your name, VJESDICA. Right up the first paragraph. Unlike the original PSVR, the VR2 does not need a camera to work on the PS5. That means you don't need to rush out and buy the PlayStation 5 HD camera if you're interested. Inside-out tracking uses cameras placed on the device to determine its location in the environment. The PSVR 2 has 4 embedded cameras, allowing it to track exactly where your head is positioned at all times. So you do not need the camera for the VR 2. So...
bonus.
Like I say, if it ever goes down to 400, I'm on it straight away.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I almost pulled the trigger myself. I'm glad I didn't. But that's good that the camera's not needed, because one of the biggest problems with the VR originally was that wherever you set the camera, you need like a good space to do stuff. And I mean, unless you're rich and you own like a big room, I don't think anybody here has the room to really do that, because I think you need like 8 to 10 feet from your TV to do it, and most people don't have that. So they had to do special things. Alex, I know you're not a VR fan, but does this news surprise you that they've only sold 270,000 units?
I mean, the number is kind of, it's like a splash of cold water, because like, ooh, that's not good. I mean, the money factor is a huge thing and probably the biggest factor for a lot of people, but also like I play enough on the, between the Switch and the PlayStation 5, I play enough as is. I don't really have time to devote to something like a PSVR 2 and the games that are coming out for that. So, as Gareth said, most people don't play the bulk of their games on a VR headset because, there is the eye strain. It's not necessarily comfortable to play it for super long. It's not even recommended to play it for a long amount of time. So for all those reasons, I kind of just wish Sony would focus on their core business, like with what they did with the PSP and the Vita, just focus on your home console business. I don't know why you need to go out, and I understand they're trying to grow their profits and sales, but VR doesn't seem, I mean, who knows, maybe it's profitable for them or it makes sense, but having to already cut the cost, having people already talking about cutting the cost of this machine is not good for Sony. And to me, it threatens the existence of the PSVR 3. Like, we're not even talking about, is the PSVR 2 going to do well? We're also talking about, are they even going to be willing to do support a 3, because their sales are so, like, below expectations. So there's a lot more at stake at this than just the VR 2. It's like, it's the viability of that the line of that line of consoles for Sony's, or I should say the headset, not the console, but that line of headset for Sony. That's what's at stake. Because if it continues to sell poorly, they're not going to do a 3. And the surprising thing is that they're asking them to cut the price already. That's a lot. That's a big ask. So,
well, I mean, to be fair, I'm sorry to cut you off. They're not asking them to cut it off. He's just saying, in his opinion, the only way it's going to be successful is if they do a price cut.
But then are you gauging success by the number of units sold? But what about the money you're making off? I mean, if your margins are slim, cutting the price by a lot, that's not a success because you're losing money on it. So while the numbers will look better, the bottom line for you doesn't. Well,
let me ask you this. Do you think we should consider the VR the same way we look at consoles? Because we've known for years that these console makers, they don't make money. They normally sell at a loss for the consoles, and they make their money back in software.
They do sometimes make a slim margin on the consoles. I mean, but they get more profitability as they go on because they get better building the consoles. They come out with better. They get components get cheaper. They basically find a way to make these consoles for cheaper, and they can pass the savings on to the customer. But do you think they should sell the VR at a loss to get it out there? No, I think they should if they have to sell the VR at a loss to get it out there, I think they need to, or depends on what the loss is. If it's a lot and you're only selling to a few million people, like if you're selling the PlayStation 5 at a loss, but your audience is 30 million people, that's a lot different than 200,000 people. So if they have to sell at a significant loss, or, if you're selling at a loss on the VR and you're only selling to each person. I mean, some people will buy more games than others, but say someone buys 2 VR games a year, that's not worth it. So it's more worth it to sell a PS5 at a loss because you have a larger user base to buy software and to buy into PlayStation Plus. You don't have that with VR 2. There's not as big of an install base, and those people aren't buying PS Plus for VR. So it's not as worth it to you. Because the amount of people who can buy software, the amount of software you're going to sell is a smaller pool.
All right, I'm looking up. I'm just curious to see how many VRs were actually sold.
I think it was 3 million.
4 million.
Yeah, I don't think it was that many.
Well, I thought it was around 3 million, but I could be wrong.
I'm looking at VG charts right now. Oh, I hate looking things up on here. I'm not getting anywhere. I mean, listen, I'm right with Rick. It's like once it hits $400, that's my price point. That's where I'm going to go to it, and I'm going to look for it. Anything before
but the question you have to ask now is with this initials, and maybe Sony just guesstimated too much and they forecasted too much. They were too hopeful, but when does support if we don't see a change in the wins and Sony's fortunes and people don't start buying it more, do they stop supporting it at some point? I mean, if you're only selling to that many people, or you think you're going to get another Horizon Call of the Mountain? No, they're just going to slowly let it die.
All right. I googled real quick. Unit sales for the PlayStation VR worldwide from February 17 to January 2020. They had sold 5 million. So it's been 3 years. They could have, gotten more, but as of January 2020, they've sold 5 million VR headsets.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's profitable for them. Maybe it's good for them, or maybe they were hoping. Well, I mean, obviously the hope is you put out the first generation, then the second generation you have more people, but it doesn't seem like that many more people were interested in PSVR 2. You may have had the amount of people that were sold from the start. So your install base, however many months in, is going to be the same because it's the exact same people buying VR. But is that what you want? But to me, you're wanting to grow your audience, but I don't know. It doesn't look good for the VR 2. I'll say that.
Okay.
And I made up 3 of those numbers.
You bought 3 VR headsets?
Yeah, I bought one on release, couldn't get to grips with it, so ended up selling it. But I still wanted to dive back in. Bought it again about 6 months later, still wasn't getting much use out of it, so sold it again. And then when it came down in price, bought it again, and I've kept hold of it and I've played it about, I don't think I've put it on since 2021. Don't think I played it at all last year.
Rick,
No, I did. I played it with the kids actually last year.
Rick, you're a big component of the VR. You liked it, right?
I love it, yeah. But like I said, I don't think I played mine. Certainly not this year. Maybe I played it once last year.
It's just the hassle, isn't it, of setting it all up?
Yeah, it's setting it all up and all. Yeah, it's just a pain in the ass.
Well, but another thing is like the games they're making for VR. It's not like a game that you're going to come back to. You're going to finish the game and you're going to stop playing it. And if they don't keep coming out with a steady stream of games, you've got nothing to play, right?
A bit of that, but I love replaying stuff. I mean, I make new accounts just to replay stuff. So,
well, I mean, there's something like Beat Saber that you'll play all the time, but like story-based stuff. I mean, like Moss, once you're done, you're kind of done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to replay Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners this year, and I'm going to replay Skyrim VR.
That's what you got the second one out of there.
Saints and Sinners, yeah, but it's going to be on both. It's on VR1 and VR2.
Oh, is it? Right.
Yeah.
See, one of the things I liked about the VR was the ability to not just watch the games, but say like watch WrestleMania in VR or go to a concert or
Yeah, you like if you watch it in theatre mode, you can have a massive screen on.
Right.
And you sat in a cinema or something like that, watching a film on it and stuff. It's
so I mean, watching Netflix and stuff like that. Now I don't know, like I've always felt like my face started sweating when I wore too long, so I don't know that I could wear for an hour or two. But in nice like half hour, 45-minute chunks, it was good.
I gave Daryl a tip because I when I'm wearing it, I have a fan on me. I put a fan up.
Yeah, I got
have that blowing.
I had a fan on me when I was rocking out in Beat Saber. I still sweated from every pore of my body.
Fuck on that game though, don't you? That's intense.
Some comments from the chat. Mr. TMT says PSVR 2 is already dead in the water, and he says PSVR 2 is the next Vita. So,
that's cutting deep for Tricky.
We all know that you don't like it, Joe. We all know you're going about it enough.
All right, moving on to our next topic, coming from IGN and written by Rebecca Valentine. With the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 firmly in the rear view, CD Projekt Red seems to have fully bounced back from where it was at the end of 2020, both in goodwill and in financials, celebrating its second best earnings year in 2022 despite no major new releases. Per CG Project earnings report, Cyberpunk revenues were up 18% year over year in 2022, with 94 of the units being sold digital. That's pretty unusual figure in video games, which typically release to enormous unit sales and then see a steady but consistent drop over time. CG Projekt attributes the sales to the long-term work on improving issues with Cyberpunk 2077, as well as the success of the companion Netflix series Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and having Witcher 3 round It Doesn't Hurt either. It's a significant turnaround for a game plagued with bugs and glitches on the base PS4 and Xbox One at launch, with its own developers reportedly did not expect to be ready by the 2020 launch date. But multiple patches since began slowly to rebuild goodwill, and 1-2 punch of a next-gen update in February last year, and Edgerunners seems to have convinced people it was worth returning to the Night City. Alex, I'm going to start it off with you because you were the biggest vocal on this show about CG Projekt Red.
I mean, they broke a lot of trust with gamers when they clearly made, and you heard stories of developers, which you mentioned, where they didn't think the game was ready and the game was put out. So, I mean, they lost a lot of trust there. It's good to know they're rebuilding it. It's good to know that that misfire, by you would assume upper management, did not sink the ship. The CD Projekt Red is still now doing well. And this game was never going to have a normal tail or a sales cycle because you had so many people waiting for it to become... I mean, you had a lot of people asking for refunds, but you had a lot of people that heard about the issues waiting until the game got better to buy it. So it was always going to have, a little sales boost because of that. So, I mean, I hope it's all on the up and up in CD Projekt Red. I'm certainly not buying their next project. I don't care what game it is. I want to see that they are committed to, being not putting out a game until it's ready, being honest with people and not trying to, deceive everyone by showing PC versions of the game while the other versions of the game they were going to release soon were broken. So, I mean, repair that goodwill as best you can, but I'm not going to buy any of their games anytime soon. You gotta earn back that trust from me.
Rick, you buying any of their games?
No, only because I don't like the games they've already released. I've played The Witcher 3. I've tried to play it a couple of times, and it should be a game that I like, and I just can't get into it at all. Cyberpunk, I bought it when it came out, but to be fair, it was playing the PS4 version, but on PS5. That's right, isn't it? There was just the PS4 version came out, wasn't it?
Originally.
The 4 version was the 5 versions, and the series versions were the ones that were all screwed up. No, wait. That was backwards.
No, it's the PS4 version that was screwed up if you were on the PS4, but
right.
I played it on the PS5 and that seemed to make it a bit better. But it's not a good game. Hey?
Gareth, what about you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I will. I mean, I've not played Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk, to be honest. So, not that I don't want to. I think that the headline is a little bit, water is wet and all that, because we're talking about what did they say, their second biggest revenue was in 2022. But I would have expected that, given that The Witcher 3 is arguably their biggest game. Cyberpunk, so obviously their follow-up, Cyberpunk, well, obviously not a sequel, but the next game they developed was always going to have a good following because of what they've proven to be able to do with The Witcher 3. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out initially how they had, and obviously it got pulled from the PlayStation Store and whatnot, the problems that it had. But they have... seems like they've done a good job from people I know who have played it. They've had a good time with it, and obviously sales would have bounced back from that. So to me, when you look at their back catalogue of games, given that Witcher 1, Witcher 2, I think they only released on PC anyway, and a fairly few sort of modest titles, they're the two biggest games that they've done. So to me, it's completely expected that this would be their sort of second largest revenue, and I would guess 2016 would be their largest revenue, given that The Witcher 3 was released in 2015. So, I think it's a bit of a non-story, to be honest, with what they're coming out with.
I mean, I'm sorry, Alex. Basically, what they're saying is that they had an all-time low in their sales because of the way Cyberpunk came out, and now they're well, whoever's doing writing the article, because it's not Cyberpunk, but they're basically saying like they've rebounded from that, and now because they've all the goodwill of going back and patching the game and fixing the game, they're now starting to get sales for the game that they should have gotten back in 2020.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I mean, we saw the same with No Man's Sky, didn't we? How they bounced back from it, probably potentially from an even worse scenario, given that the
Hello Games is a much smaller studio.
It is, but from the developers were outright lied in the build up to the game, didn't it, in terms of what was going to be available. Whereas this was just poorly developed. But yeah, it wasn't playable. They've made it sort of up to, by all accounts, up to scratch, up to what it should be. And fair play. I mean, I suppose they had to do it in order to salvage their reputation as well. Especially, with the way that sort of gamers are reacting to things nowadays. Obviously, social media and sort of various podcasts and stuff. People jump on the bandwagon of various things, and had they not put it right, I think it would have been far more damaging than what certainly for any future games or releases that they would have made. So yeah, fair play to them for that. I'm not going to hold it against them. It's to be honest, I probably won't even get around to playing the ones that they released anyway already, let alone any future ones. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm not holding it against them.
All right.
And real quick, before we move on, the other thing I wanted to mention was they talked about Edge Runners, which was the show on Netflix, Cyberpunk, and that helping their sales. It's important to remember also that even if The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is kind of this very fertile game, this evergreen game that seems to always be in the conversation and may just be one of those games that continuously sells. The second season of The Witcher on Netflix came out in December of 2021, and at 8 episodes, it probably sure you could have binged it, but I'm sure that carried over into the next year, 2022, and probably helped boost the sales of Witcher a little bit more.
Now we're gonna move on after this, but I thought the PS5 version of The Witcher was a free upgrade. Did they?
Aren't they doing an actual PS5 version though with They did release a PS5 version, but I believe it was free. It was, if you owned it on the 4, it was a free upgrade to the 5. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I thought for some reason I had it in my head that they were going to be releasing one with all the content in, all the DLC as well.
Well, they did. They released the PlayStation 5 version.
Okay.
But if you already owned all the content on the 4, you got the 5 version for free. But they did sell the game on the 5. All right. At this time, we are going to throw it across the pond to Gareth for this week's Rarity Update. Now, if you guys listen to this show live on Twitch or on YouTube, obviously, we're not doing it because Garrett's here. We're going to pass this in. But for the audio listeners, I'm taking this all out. And Rarity Update. And we're back. So, thank you, Gareth, for your lovely audio update.
No problem at all.
I expected Alex to say something, too.
I think we're all hoping for a live update, but I get it. Gareth put all the work into the audio version, so we don't want to put him on the spot and have him, have to spit off 20 minutes of audio.
Although I have to say, his Facebook updates are fucking comedy genius. I look forward to those every week.
Do you know, so where that came from, I used to, obviously, as probably most of you know, I sort of play sport, and obviously foot golf is my main sport now, sort of haven't, because I can't play football any longer. And I used to run some tournaments that used to run over a series of weeks and months. And we used to do one evening a week. And I would do the update for that competition results on Facebook in that sort of style, with the like a sports bulletin type an analysis, and all I've done is just adapted that to this contest, really. So yeah,
it's great. All right, Time to throw it to our socials.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
All right, so we had to do a little backtracking because I wasn't here last week and I didn't prepare Alex. It's not Alex's fault; it's my fault. We had a comment on our YouTube video from Doc Chicken 13. He says Resident Evil 4 remake is so damn good. I beat it in 3 seconds and was just glued to the TV. It totally stands up to the original. Can't wait for them to release Mercenaries mode, hopefully with some bonus trophies. Also, I agree with you guys. It's not scary at all and never was. It's more of an action shooter game with, unlike some of the others in the series, it's filled with cheesy one-liners, and Leon is basically a Terminator, LOL. So even if Yield doesn't like horror games, this one barely qualifies. The Last of Us has scarier parts than anything in this.
Yeah, I mean, there is one scene where you're going to grab a crank handle in a part of the village, and all of a sudden 2 chainsaws come through the wall. So there are moments where you will jump a little bit, but overall, it's, to me, it's not as like terrifying as something like Dead Space, where you're in the tight corridors of a ship that's losing power, and you're sometimes the only light you have is the flashlight. Like, you do get moments like that, in basements and stuff, or going through tunnels in Resident Evil 4, but just Resident Evil 4 being more in open areas, outside, like, it's just not as atmospheric to me as something like Dead Space. So it's not completely devoid of the terror and the the scares, but it's a lot. It feels very much like that they started that switch to an action game right there with Resident Evil 4.
All right. And Doc Chicken also left a comment on the video from the previous week. Says, damn, never seen Alien or Aliens 2. 2 of the best movies of all time.
Doc Chicken is damn right about that. Yeah, and the first one's very good, but it's one of Aliens is one of those sequels that I think goes beyond the original. I think Aliens is better than the original Alien. Because film buffs love to have that conversation. Sequels that are better than the original. I actually was watching Scream 2 last night when they had that conversation in the class. I'm not saying Scream 2 is better than Scream 1. Scream 1 is the better movie. But in class with Randy and Mickey and Cece and everybody, they're talking about which sequels are better. So,
Rick, what do you think about the Aliens movies?
Oh, I love them. Well, I love the first 2, and I'll give the third one the time of day. It gets a lot of stick, but it's better than it. Better than it's told to be, I suppose.
The third one's in the prison, right?
Yeah. And the spoilers. They kill off Kyle Reese. What's his name? Hicks was in the escape pod at the end of Aliens with her, wasn't he? And they kill off him. But originally he was supposed to be the main character, but they changed it and made Ripley the main character again. But
you mean the cat?
No, the cat's called. I can't remember what the cat's called, but Hicks, the guy that plays Kyle Reese
in Terminator, yeah.
Michael Biehn, that's his name. Yeah, so he was supposed to be the main character in Aliens 3, but they changed it. But as for sequels that are better than the originals, there's Aliens. Terminator 2 for me is better than Terminator. And Godfather 2, obviously. That goes without saying.
I would ask Gareth, but he had to step away for a minute. All right, so last week I posted a post in the chat for questions, and due to time, Alex wasn't able to get to it. But Matt G wants to know what game that hasn't been turned into a show/movie would you want to see make the transition? Alex, we'll start with you.
Sly Cooper. Because I think that would be a really good animated series, and they can make it really stylized. And I mean, the characters in that game, like, let's be real, the Sly Cooper games, the gameplay is fun, but they're not hard games. It's like stealth for kind of kids. It's not hard to be stealthy in those games. But the characters are just so fantastic, and the interplay between everyone is so good. Got some really good villains. So Sly Cooper could be a really good animated series on Netflix.
All right, Rick.
Honestly, I've got nothing. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be PlayStation.
You did have a surprised look on your face when when Alex said Sly Cooper.
I just it's been done. I mean, I would have said Fallout, but that's coming out now, isn't it?
Rick, what about Slay the Spire?
Hey, I don't know how that. So it could work as like a cartoon or something, maybe. But yeah, each week they try to climb the spire and take out the heart, but I've got nothing. It's all been done already. Resident Evil, Fallout's been done. South Park, but
South Park already was there.
Yeah.
All right, so
those games are fantastic.
let me give some answers from the post. Maybe this will help jog your memory a little bit. Joseph Priestley says Bubsy.
Well, that's been. There was a cartoon of Bubsy. It was absolutely shit.
I don't know.
I think it lasted 6 episodes or something like that. Oh, it was horrible.
And Yield says Legend of Zelda, Chrono Trigger, Metal Gear, Metroid, Luigi's Mansion, Castlevania, Contra. Those are just off the top of his head.
Well, Castlevania is already a show on Netflix.
Series,
yeah.
And Zelda had a cartoon back in the day. I remember watching that.
All right, Gareth, you're back. So we're going through a list of questions. Matt G wants to know what game that hasn't been turned into a show or a movie would you want to see make the transition?
Game that hasn't been turned into. Okay. Is what I've probably just played, Ghost of Tsushima. I know that. I think that is due, isn't it?
It is.
That's being made.
Who the director's been talking a lot, and I can't remember.
It's the guy from John Wick games, the movies.
Okay.
Is it?
That is expected to be coming out.
So having just played that, that's obviously a fairly epic story. I think that would do well. Put me on the spot. I mean,
well, I'll give you some time to think of it.
I think
you'll kind of
Dead Space as well.
Oh no, that's that one.
Okay.
That's that one already.
Rick jumps back into the conversation.
Oh right, okay. Well.
Rick couldn't come on and answer. You just gave him his answer.
No, Dead Space. It's had 2 already. Dead Space. I think there's 2 animated films, but I did think of one. Alan Wake. That would make a brilliant.
Oh come on, that game sucks.
Oh fuck off, Tricky.
Don't tell me to fuck off on my own show. That game is horrible.
Oh no!
Horrible story, horrible gameplay.
What was that game you've been playing? Hacker Chicks or something this week?
Cuties Hacked.
Cuties Hacked. Oh yeah, so I'm sure that's a masterpiece.
No, it's definitely not a masterpiece, but it does have it does have big boobs, and that always appeals to me. But my answer.
What are you, 15?
Listen, I'm a boob guy. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh yeah, you're not on camera, so I can't see.
Oh, I am on camera. I'm on Twitch, but but you stole my answer. I was gonna say Metal Gear. I think Metal Gear would make a fantastic movie, if not series.
Already got the games are trying that already, though, aren't they? With the bloody.
Well, yes, that's very fair to say.
How long would a Metal Gear Solid movie be? It'd be like fucking 10 hours, wouldn't it?
I don't remember which game it was, but there was one game where after you beat the game, you could like watch all the cutscenes back to back to back to back to back. It was fucking 8 hours long.
Oh.
Well, hey, what about Death Stranding?
No, that wouldn't make a good show.
Even if they cast Norman Reedus, you got your main character right there, already casted.
Listen, I like Death Stranding. I like Hideo Kojima, but he went wild with that game.
Well, you like the game.
I did like the game, but it's no. Let's leave Death Stranding where it is. I know they're making a sequel and why, but it is what it is. All right.
You sound like Konami questioning dear Hideo Kojima there.
All right, so we're going to jump into our topics of the week. And I had to put this in for Rick and Gareth because I know they love talking about it. We got to discuss the merger between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard.
No.
That's not on the agenda.
How do you know? You don't have the agenda open.
I've looked at the agenda. I know that we're talking about something else. No, I wouldn't have been on the show if we had to talk about that.
And I made a joke to Rick as well about that when he invited me on. So yeah, I did look at the agenda. I knew that wasn't on there.
I'm sorry, I had to do it.
But Falls was yesterday, Tricky.
I'm sorry, I had to do that, but just watching Rick's reaction made my soda go down the road.
Actually, I thought of another one for the which might make it a decent series, which would be like Watch Dogs as a series.
That's true, yeah.
Or Yakuza.
Oh, Yakuza would be good. I've not played Watch Dogs.
See, I would say Assassin's Creed, but they already made that movie, and it wasn't a bad movie. But it wasn't bad, but it could have been so much better.
It was as good as most video game movies are, isn't it? I mean, it's not got the best track record, really, have they?
No.
For making games into movies and TV shows. I mean, fair enough, they may have struck gold with Last of Us, but that's about it, isn't it?
I mean, Bloodborne. I mean, you think of I know they have a tabletop game out about it, but I don't know if they've done any like TV series or cartoons. But that would be. I mean, you think of something like The Witcher. You could have an even darker, more gothic television show about destroying monsters, and I think that could be successful.
Yeah, Resistance series.
Oh, I'd watch that.
All right, let's go into our real topic of the week. EA has been officially canceled for this year. Coming from IGN and written by Rebecca Valentine. EA has officially been canceled. GameIndustry.biz.
Great. You said EA twice.
Did I say EA?
Yeah.
Maybe that's just wishful thinking that EA gets canceled. E3 has been canceled. GameIndustry.biz has published an interview with ESA President and CEO Stanley Pierre-Louis, in which he was asked about what went wrong with the show and whether or not the show would return in the future. Though his answers were fairly tight-lipped to the questions, when asked what went wrong with the show this year, Pierre-Louis pointed to larger industry challenges that provided, quote, too large to surmount, end quote. His answer was, quote, first, several companies have reported that the timeline for game development has been altered since the start of COVID pandemic. Second, economic headwinds have caused several companies to reassess how they invest in large marketing events. And third, companies are starting to experiment with how to find the right balance between in-person events and digital marketing opportunities, end quote. Later in the interview, Pierre-Louis was asked if ESA members were no longer interested in the event, what E3 would look like if it continued, if E3 needed the three big platform holders to have any chance of success, and if E3 would return in 2024. Pierre-Louis did not provide any direct answers to any of these questions, though he did seem to deny that communication was an issue in setting up E3 this year. He directly confirmed that the cancellation of E3 would not impact the ESA's advocacy for the work for the games industry. The ESA announced the cancellation to its members earlier today, stating in an email that the 23-23 version of the event simply did not garner the sustained interest necessary to execute in a way that would showcase the size, strength, and impact of our industry. Though it did not mention whether or not the event would return, a press release was sent to media following a report that Repop and the ESA would continue to work together on future E3 events. That is the article. Please go give it a click. If you guys are in the Facebook group, you saw that I received that email stating that it was canceled, and I posted that email to the group. Alex, I'm going to let you go last because me, you, and Yield have been given our opinions on E3s in the past and whether or not they're needed anymore. Gareth, I'm going to throw it to you first. Is E3 something that's still needed? Do you want it? Or, what's your overall opinions of E3?
I did used to enjoy E3, mainly for sort of I only used to watch the announcements and the trailers and the reveals of the new games that were coming out, but I did used to enjoy the hype around it, about what was upcoming. But at the same time, the pandemic has changed the way businesses operate, and in every industry. It's sped up things like hybrid working solutions, working practices. It's expedited the rate at, I work in a sales background, and the amount of people now, or businesses that we deal with, that are working from a split, a hybrid split. So we're obviously 2 days in the office, 3 days from home, or vice versa. We sell print and telecommunications, and sort of it's sped up the fact that how people communicate on the telecoms. There's everything has changed, and Sony and the likes of Microsoft and Nintendo are no different to that. They're still susceptible to those sort of changes, and that's what's happened. When you look at the economics of it, it isn't viable in terms of, from a cost perspective, for the money that they spend to put these shows on or to attend these shows. When obviously they've set up now their PlayStation, their showcases that they do sort of quarterly or whenever they've got sort of something to tell, they can reach that same audience, and everyone's looking forward to them, and they don't really deliver anything that's particularly exciting in either of them, or any of them that they do, but it's a much cheaper way of getting their information across. Other companies are probably likely to follow suit. I think Nintendo do their own Nintendo Direct. Microsoft did their own showcase not too long ago, and will be largely down to the cost element of it. And without those three big players there, it kind of makes the whole show redundant, because you've also now got other larger, Tencent following suit, and other sort of game developers will go down the same route as well. So it will be a cost thing, and the way that digital media is changing. Microsoft, they're looking at changing the way that they bring out the games, obviously with Game Pass. That's their big drive, big focus. So if they're not generating the money from game sales, and they, what they're going to show a new version of Game Pass at their, they can do that online. They can do that at one of their own shows, and it's perhaps a shame, but it's like everything. Everything is open to change, for better, for worse. So disappointed it's not around, but I'm not surprised.
All right. Now, before I let you go, Rick, I said this on the show before, and I don't want to keep beating the dead horse, but a lot of people hear the reports when they hear the Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, they're not going to E3. I just want to clarify what that means. What we traditionally, as the gamers, know, that when Sony does their conference, or Microsoft does their conference, or Nintendo does their conference, those were never officially part of E3. Those were them doing their conferences, and that was separate. When Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft say they're not going to E3, that's meaning they're not going to be on the show floor with an exhibit. So when we hear the stories of saying, "Oh, Sony's not going to E3," they're not going to be on the floor of E3. Not that they're not going to do some kind of presser, which we traditionally, most gamers know as, the start of E3. So I just want to be clear about that. And, Rick, your opinions. Oh, I'm sorry, Gareth, go ahead. No,
I was going to say that again, and that's the cost element, isn't it? Being on the show floor.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And so, especially obviously with the pandemic, with footfall, we did a conference. Well, I went to, and again, I'm not talking about E3 or anything or a gaming, but it's a fairly big expo that happened 2 weeks ago, and walking around that sort of the exhibition hall, when I compare it to, and speaking to the stands that the companies that were exhibiting, it was half the people that were there compared to the year before the pandemic. And it's partly because of the cost of doing it. It's the cost of people's time. It's, are people available? Because if people are working from home, they're not going to, they weren't attending that sort of that side of things. So I get it. It's completely down to, it's cost driven, and are there better ways of sort of showcasing your products and services than go into an exhibition and showcasing an exhibition that is sort of in the decline in numbers.
All right, Rick, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, Gaz has said everything really that needs to be said about it. But yeah, you're not going to. People aren't going to go and see a thing if the big people aren't there. You know, if Sony aren't on the floor, then what's the point of going? You know, if you're a Sony fan, you're not going to go and see. Whoever else is there, you're not going to care. It's been dead for a few years now, hasn't it? Since, was it the first year when the pandemic started? That was when Sony pulled out. Was it the year before when Sony pulled out?
I don't think
originally?
Sony's been there in 5 years.
Yeah, so I mean that was the beginning of the end when they pulled out. I mean, like Gaz said, they all do their own thing now, and physical events, people don't want to go to them if there's not the things there they need to see, and they can just put it out on them online for a fraction of the price. I've never been bothered about. I'll look. Oh yeah, this was announced. That was announced. I never watch any of these things live. Really, I just look the next day and see what's been announced, and you can always watch a video then. So yeah.
Well, Alex, now I'm going to talk to you because me and you have attended E3s. See, I've spoken in years past about, I think E3's biggest downfall is when they started letting the public in. Because E3 has always been an industry event. It's always been for the people in the industry, media, other game developers, blah, blah. Then they opened the doors to let the public in. And I know the year I went where the public was there, it was so crowded. I had trouble getting to my appointments because I couldn't. The aisles were so crowded I couldn't get to where I needed to go. Alex, you were there years before I was there. What was your overall opinion of E3? And now with E3 being canceled, are you surprised?
Certainly not surprised. I mean, think about the way that E3 used to be covered. So you used to have something like G4 or Tech TV, and they would have dedicated television coverage to the E3 show floor. You don't have that now. Basically, it's just people watching online. And if you're the Sonys, Microsofts, or really anybody, I mean, other publishers have pulled out as well. The cost of paying people to be there, of transporting everything, of setting things up. Like the one time I went to PAX, they had a massive, Bethesda had a massive dragon. So you're not only paying for your employees to be there, you're also paying for floor space. You're paying for the setup there, these big impressive, set pieces that are trying to promote your game. Whereas you could just have 1 or 2 or 3 people talking in a 30-minute special that you put out digitally, which people, can watch on YouTube or wherever, or they could watch them through the PlayStation 5, and you're saving a lot of money. But you're getting the same amount of information across. And sure, people can't go hands-on with that kind of stuff, but PAX has always been more for the public. E3 has been more for the press, and PAX can be overwhelming at times because there are so many people there. The first time I went to PAX, I remember for the first hour or so, I just walked the show floor and took pictures because things look so damn good, but I didn't get any line to play anything because there's just so many damn people. Yeah. But E3, it's been a long time coming that E3 was going to go because, again, PAX, there's so much excitement around it because it is focused on the players and not the companies and not the media, which is what E3 always was. It's just that, one, you don't have any more TV surrounded around video games where you're seeing, E3 put out on television screens. You also don't have, all big publishers, they're like, or really any studios, they're like, why am I going to go be another fish in the pond when I could just save a lot of money and just have my own dedicated special where a Nintendo Direct, all eyes are on Nintendo. It's not like Nintendo is also there with Sony and Microsoft and everyone has to sift through all this information. So the way that information is disseminated has been changed. The way that it's broadcast in the video game industry has been changed. So, I mean, this isn't like the pandemic killed this thing. E3 was going down for a while. And it's just changes in the way technology works. It's just the way we get our information these days. People don't have the time to sit here and go to GameSpot and stare at, pages and pages and pages of what's the best game at E3, or like a list of games that came out, or announced at E3. People will look for big announcements. People will look for videos of the games they want to see, and that's about it. So E3 is just kind of one of those things. Like PAX will survive. PAX will continue to be a big thing because you get to, again, it's to the public, and people always want to go. It's a big happening. E3 is just, it's kind of not needed anymore. For smaller companies and like lesser known games, I can see how being at E3 would be massive and getting media coverage of your game. But for a lot of the big companies, you're already putting out a lot of information about these games anyway. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make financial sense, and it just feels like, at this point, kind of a waste of time. Like it's like E3 needs to exist for the sake of E3 has always existed, and we have to have it because it's like legacy. We have to have it. The only reason I think at this point, unless you're a smaller developer and the ESA can shine light on your products, that's really the only reason to have E3 anymore, is because it's always been there and we don't want it to go away.
See, I coming off the heels of going to PAX East, I like being able to go in, hands-on, talking to the developers and whatnot. I always feel like that was a way of getting the, building relationships and, getting hands-on with the game. I like going to the show floor and being able to talk to developers and stuff like that. It's, I don't know. It's like, I think when people look at E3, I think gamers, from outside the industry, and this is not a shot at you guys at all, but like Gareth and Rik, like when they see E3, they look at the press conferences, and that's what their focus is on. That's where their excitement is, because to see the game reveals, to see what's getting announced, to see what's coming down the line. Where somebody like me and Alex, well, Alex not so much anymore because he doesn't go to these, but for us, it was always a little bit of work at the same time, because we were going and talking to developers. We were talking to the Naughty Dogs, the Devolver Digitals, and the Bethesdas, and we were getting hands-on with the game, and we were finding out what's going on and what they got coming and whatnot. I got a heads up about the Turtles Ronin game ahead of time before it was officially announced. That kind of stuff always excited me. So when they talk about closing the doors of E3, yeah, it's, I don't remember the exact word you used, Alex, but it's a staple. Like, it's tradition. And to see that go away, that kind of saddens me a little bit. But as long as we still get those major press conferences, the Nintendo Directs or the Sony showcases, the State of Play, stuff like that, I'm cool with that, because there's other ways to foster those relationships with the developers and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's just like, to me, E3 has always been the Super Bowl of video games, and to think that that's going away kind of saddens me a little bit. All right.
I get it, but we just shouldn't keep something around because it's always been there. Otherwise, we still have phone booths.
Hey, even Superman needs a phone booth, okay?
Don't be changing out in public, Superman, you weirdo.
All right. With that being said, we're going to wrap up the show. We're going to do our shout-outs. So, Alex, I normally go to you before me, but I'm going to go to you first because you made our guests go first on what we're playing, so now I'm going to make you go first on shout-outs.
You said that I normally go before you, but I'm going to make you go first this time. What?
I'm going to make you go first. I normally... Forget what I said. Just do your shout-outs. You're trying to confuse me.
I want to give a shout-out to the listeners, the fans, the fuel to the fire that is Trophy Horrors, because without them, this show doesn't exist anymore. The community doesn't exist anymore. And let's be real, it's not just the show, it's the community. So thank you all very much for your continued support. Give a shout-out to Yield, who's watching WrestleMania. A shout-out to Tricky for recording before WrestleMania. And, of course, a shout-out to both Gareth and Rik. Haven't had them on in a while, or at least I hadn't been on with them in a while. It was good to have you gentlemen on again. Always a pleasure, and of course, you all, it's later where you all live, so it's even more, I don't want to say strenuous, but it's more of a hassle to do this show, considering that you all probably, or Gareth, or Rick's off tomorrow, but I don't know about Gareth, but we all got jobs. So thank you for, spending one of your Sunday evenings with us, or your Sunday nights. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a bother.
No, not at all. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Most excellent. And last but not least, I want to give a shout out to my loving and awesome girlfriend, Ashley, who has been under the weather the last couple of days. She's actually sleeping behind me, and unlike Donnie's lovely wife, Lakira, cannot hear her snoring. So grateful for that as well. Love you, honey.
Before I let them go, I know they enjoyed being on the show, but I did see them yawn a couple times because it is kind of late for them.
I think Gaz was just taking the piss out of wrestling. It was just whenever you were speaking about WrestleMania.
No, it's past midnight. I'm working in the morning, so I am getting a bit tired.
Just out of curiosity, like when WrestleMania goes live in the next hour, does it go live in the UK at the same time, or do you guys watch it on a time delay?
Yeah. No, it goes live.
So any pay-per-views, you guys have to stay up until midnight before it even starts?
Yeah, well, no, back in the day, it was even later. I remember staying up till like 2 a.m. and stuff to wait for stuff to start. Back in the early 2000s, I stayed up and watched a few. I remember watching One No Mercy, and I definitely went round to my mate's house and they had to wait till 2 a.m. until it started.
I mean,
Tricky, yesterday at WrestleMania, they were showing like scenes like, I can't remember, it was the reaction of the Rey Mysterio Dominic match, but they showed scenes from Germany like early in the morning of people watching it live. So yeah,
that's true.
Everything has to revolve around the U.S., I guess.
I like when spoiler if you don't know, when Rio won, they showed Australia. It's like, yeah, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon now. I'm like, Jesus Christmas.
Yeah, everyone's out going out to get a pint.
Rick, your shout out, sir.
Shout out to Tricky and Alex. Thank you for having me on again, guys. It's always a pleasure. Shout out to Yield, even though he's not here. Hope he enjoys WrestleMania. I hope you two enjoy WrestleMania as well. Shout out to Gaz for all the work he does with the Rarity Contest. Love reading the write-ups, love listening to the audio. I'm definitely going to get back into it. And final shout out to my boy James for, but he's never going to listen to this show. Or, well, maybe. Maybe in 10 years, but
when all this news is irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're like, listen to this, James. Your dad was on this podcast 10 years ago. He wasn't happy, actually. I had to put him to bed early tonight. I was like, James, I need to do something at 10 o'clock. He's off school at the minute, so I let him stay up till about 10. I was like, James, you need to go to bed about 20 to 10 tonight. He wasn't happy about it. He's like, what's a podcast? I was like, it's like a radio show. What, and you're going to be talking on it? I was like, yes. So yeah, shout out to him. And that's about it.
All right.
He'll be listening when Tricky's working at a gas station.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
You say that, and it makes me chuckle a little bit. But I started thinking, like, in the last couple of days, we're approaching, 600 episodes. Like, when do we actually stop doing this? Like, I have no desire to stop, but it's like, at what point, do we stop at episode 2000? What do we do? Gareth, your shout out, sir.
Yeah, shout out to both hosts this evening, Tricky and Alex, for having me on, having Rick on as well. Really appreciate coming and joining in the topics. Shout out to Rick for letting me know that you were recording early, which actually facilitated me sort of joining in. And a shout out to everybody who's partaking in the Rarity Contest. That includes Kalai and Zach as well. Because when I say participating, it's, they're in it.
But has Zach actually participated yet?
He's got 2 points, hasn't he? But he hasn't actually earned anything this year. But his name's on the list. But I enjoyed it. It's a lot of work, but I enjoy doing it, and I'll keep doing it as long as people are enjoying it. So thank you for everyone participating in that, and that's it.
All right, before I do my shout outs,
it's not too late to join that contest as well, and you could still beat Tricky.
Yes, you could still beat me. until December.
Even with him having a 3-month advantage, you could still beat him.
So before I do my shoutouts, we have some breaking news. CNBC is reporting that the WWE is near to a deal to be sold to the UFC.
Jesus. It was nearly the other way around, like 20 years ago, wasn't it? The WWE nearly bought UFC.
Well, it's in Endeavor, the company that owns UFC, is going to buy them.
Yeah,
or it looks like they're going to buy them. Not UFC is buying them.
But I don't want to get into a big topic about this, but I just don't understand why Vince is trying to sell them. Is it because if he can't be a part of it, he's like, I'm leaving.
That's it. Yeah, that's what it is.
He built it, and he wants to be the one to sell it, I guess. I mean, his father, obviously started everything, and he bought it from his father and turned it into what it is today. But I guess he just doesn't want to leave it to his kids, or he figures that, if he sells it to Endeavor, he can be the one to be like, yeah, I'm the one who sold it for all this money, and they'll probably keep Triple H in charge. So
I don't know. All right. Shout out to all the listeners. Shout out to Rick and Gareth. Thank you for coming on. Gareth, you could thank Rick, because the second I invited Rick was like, you got to get Gareth. I was like, all right, 10-4. Contact him. Let him know. Shout out to Alex, who filled in for me last week. Thank you very much. I promise next week I'm going to bring... actually, I don't know if... Are we doing a show next week, Alex? Because next week's Easter.
I don't know. But we should say that I announced that Patrick was the voice, the main voice of WrestleQuest. He will be coming on the 9th. He actually will be coming on the following week, not the 9th.
Yes, because he's coming on the 16th, 2 weeks from today. But, yeah, because when I was booking him, I didn't realize it was Easter, so I don't know.
So get all your WrestleQuest questions ready.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to do a show next week for Easter. I don't see why we wouldn't, but, I got to get with the guys, find out what's going on. Shout out to all you guys. Thank you very much. And until next week, happy trophy hunting.
Later.
Cheers.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.